Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Stephen Levine. This is Tom Vandervoort.
Yes, you said it right, Vandervoort.
I said it right. Little V, little d, capital V.
That is correct.
Don't get it wrong. He gets very upset.
I don't like that.
Darlington Raceway on the schedule for this weekend.
Now that I like.
How can you not like the Lady in Black?
What a place.
Track too tough to tame.
One of the oldest tracks in NASCAR, way back in 1950, built out of an old soybean field. Two different ends of the racetrack. This thing is fast. It's very, very narrow. It's basically a one-groove track, but the groove is right up against the wall. You are going so fast after this repave, there is no margin for error, as Kasey Kahne's crew chief Kenny Francis told us just the other day.
Talking about Darlington, just an iconic racetrack, not necessarily the beast it once was, but still it'll wear and tear on you, won't it?
Yeah, Darlington is a pretty special place. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks. I think it's one of Kasey's favorite tracks too. You know, the old Darlington with the pavement worn out and the tires going off, it was pretty treacherous. You know, you had to run up by the wall and you could slip at any time and hit it. But you know, the new Darlington is pretty treacherous for a little bit different reason. You still have to run up by the wall, but the place is so fast that any little slip, you get in the wall. I mean, it's pretty impressive to watch them go around there. I'd love, you know, standing down there where I can see the middle of turn 1 and 2 and just watching them run through the middle of one. And it's just one of the most amazing sights I think you'll see at a racetrack. So, you know, those guys running up by the wall, and I don't even remember the speed through that corner. It's 160 miles an hour maybe. That it's just pretty impressive to see them
on a
do
track that's like that wide.
Narrow track right up beside the wall.
Are tires still automatic every time, or do you have a little bit more leeway strategically now?
You definitely have a little leeway strategically. You know, the race last year, we were racing pretty hard with Carl Edwards at the end, and we both came in and took 4 tires, and I think Regan Smith stayed out and took none and won the race. And we were
wouldn't have seen that in the past, would you?
We didn't think that would happen. You know, we thought we were sitting in the catbird seat, and I don't remember where we finished, but you know, Regan won the race on no tires. So there's some strategy there that you know matters now. It matters just like it always did. But you know, Darlington is a little bit different because the pavement's not worn out, but every year it gets a little bit closer to where it was, and the tires become a little bit more of an issue. So it's a really great track. We all love going there.
Setup-wise, the two ends of the racetrack obviously a little bit different. Is that a big challenge for you to get the feel that Kasey's going to want there?
It's a challenge because you know, 1 and 2 is fast, high bank, a lot of vertical load, a lot of speed. 3 and 4 still got some banking, but it's a little less banking, and it's a lot tighter radius, so it's a little bit of a challenge, you know, balancing the one end against the other. You know, things that help you in one end can hurt you in the other end. But it's a little bit easier to get the car balanced now than it was back in the old days with the slick track and the tires wearing out. But it's still a little bit of a challenge for sure.
There you have it. I don't know what else needs to be said about that. I mean, yes, tires are no longer the issue they were, but as Kenny Francis said, the track is so fast now since the 2008 repave, and this track was not designed for cars that can handle this kind of speed. The mental toughness as well as the physical toughness you need to get around this place for an entire race, it's so taxing.
A win at Darlington is an achievement because there really is no margin for error. And they say, drivers will tell you got to race the track first. And what they mean by that is don't get distracted by what's going on around you, because if you slip up, you're going to hit the wall. And that's when we talk about the Darlington stripe, we talk about just driving it a little too hard, messing up, miscalculating, and banging your car off the wall. Now, you could maybe slip it off the wall a little bit, but you hit that wall too hard, you're going to end your chances at winning the race.
I also can't think of another track where the notion of slowing down to go fast is more palpable. I mean, you have to be patient at this place. You cannot force the issue. You also really have to go out of your way for some give and take. You're going to have to give up position to another guy. And that's a tough thing, I think, for a lot of these drivers to deal with.
You know, the other aspect I think that we have to look for going into this race is tire management, because last year we saw Regan Smith win this race with no tires, absolutely unheard of at the old Darlington that we are used to from a few years ago, where the pavement just wore those tires. And I think the tire package that they bring and how the racetrack has changed in a year is something to really keep your eye on. Will tires be more of a factor? Because it caught everyone by surprise last year when that move won the race. Will that be different this year? or not. I think crew chiefs are really going to have to look at that.
One more year under the hot South Carolina sun.
Absolutely.
Who knows what difference that will make? All right, who do you like?
Well, look, I think I was looking at drivers here. You got to like Denny Hamlin. You got to like Greg Biffle. Carl Edwards you have to like. This is a fantastic track for Jeff Gordon. 7 wins here. You know, in the last 8 starts or so, he hasn't finished outside the top 5 except for last year's race. He needs to turn his season around. This track, Darlington, is also the track where he has the best starting average, so he qualifies very well.
Which is important at Darlington.
Very important at Darlington. I think for Jeff Gordon, this is a make or break race, or as close to it as you can get this far into the season. He needs to have a great race at Darlington. He needs a top 5 finish. Best medicine of all would be to win the race. I don't know if he can do it. I don't know if he's on his game, but boy, this is important for him.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned Greg Biffle, but if you look at his stats since his back-to-back wins in 2005, 2006, hasn't been that great. Denny Hamlin, on the other hand, only has 1 finish out of the top 10. He's got a 6.5 average finish and a 9.5 average running position. I like Denny Hamlin at this race.
You know who I also like? Don't forget about Brad Keselowski. He took to this track pretty well pretty early on. Doesn't have a win here, but we talk about his intelligence, and I think that is a key requirement. Like you say, patience, knowing when to push it and when not to push it.
But the thing about Brad Keselowski is since we've only been going to Darlington once a year, he only has, I think, 3 starts here.
Yep.
But he's been good in those 3 starts.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him make some noise.
All right. Well, I'm going with Denny Hamlin. He's my pick.
Well, I'm going to go with Greg Biffle. I think he's back on his game.
All right. For Tom Vandervoort, I'm Stephen Levine. Thanks to Kenny Francis for joining us, and we'll be back with more.